The sky is falling. No, seriously, it's not. It's really not. It's fake news. Anyway, hi there, folks. My name's Overwin24, and welcome to a somewhat unexpected episode of your favorite flight simulation talk show, The Three Grumpy Simmers. Here's me. I'm Novawin24, your host, who has been summoned out of my unexpectedly long exile because of not only that somehow I managed to avoid the litany of scandals that have hit the flight simulation community and been deferring it, but apparently Microsoft decided to drop a rather large bombshell on us that has caused even me to emerge from my somewhat not yet constructed new home. So, of course, joining me, as always, are my two fellow Grumpy Simmers. So, in fellow Grumpiness, we have Sérgio from Helisimmer.com.
Hey, everybody.
And, of course, we have the famous, the infamous, purple-wearing pirate and Tomcat aficionado, Drew BelGeode.
You can't see the Tomcat now because of this nifty little frickin' thing that, what do you call it? The recording software has. I can't show off the Tomcat. It's a really nice picture, though. You should see it. And not only that, but it's doing like a thing with the Cheshire Cat. I'm like fading in and fading out.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It's your software. Yeah.
The purple.
And notice I'm on a tropical island, too. This is partially correct because right now I'm still, of course, playing Skyrim VR. I haven't put up any videos for like the last month or so. I'm just going through various Skyrim mods to figure out what the next adventure is going to be before, of course, I get back into the flight sim and everything. So I've got like this little tropical island. It's kind of a hint as to, one of the places that I'm going to be taking people.
I'm just happy you said it's the software because I was starting to think that I switched my pills. I'm tripping, man.
Which
it does feel a little trippy, yeah.
Well, to be fair, the entire flight sim community feels like it's been tripping on something rather phenomenal over the last few days. That's for sure.
It's been an interesting week, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is putting it mildly, my friend. Like, I think whiplash from the eventful roller coaster of the last few days is putting it mildly. So, in case you have been living under the flight sim rock of the century, you may have missed the announcement from from Microsoft that we are expecting the new release of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So first off, I do want to put the slight, shall we say, notice on the fact that they've just dropped any pretense of just ignoring Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and just wholeheartedly embraced it for the sequel. I just want to put that to one side for now. But the announcement that was made came with, mind you, a very impressive trailer showing a lot of cool stuff that I know the helicopter mafia here was incredibly excited about. But not only that, it caused a considerable amount of consternation amongst the flight sim community because... well, let's just say that, we'll get into that more a bit later on, but there was a lot of consternation, shall we say. There was a lot of recrimination. I saw the fires of torches and pitchforks being pulled from their racks all over the virtual world. As people started jumping on the bandwagon of going, how dare you, and all the rest of it. So we are here to have a hopefully somewhat more diplomatic conversation about it, and to look through and review what our thoughts are, what maybe some of the community's less favourable comments have been, but also just to talk about what it means for us as a community and perhaps what the future holds. We can actually look back into our past, our distant past, to be able to see what the future holds for us. So I think let's start it out. I'm going to throw it over to you two gentlemen, because I'm pretty sure I know for me, I was picking up my jaw from the floor after watching the trailer.
Again,
So
I'm actually happy that this time around I got to be the one to break the news to everybody after the whole incident with Flight Sim Expo 2019 when everybody got the word ahead of me and interrupted my little dinner date. So this is payback. Now the entire world knows me all can be pissed off, and I don't care.
Well, it's 2019 all over again, but just a few days in advance because when it happened, we were on the last day of Flight Sim Expo,
It was the
when
last day of Flight Sim Expo.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the last day of Flight Sim Expo. Everybody had started packing up, going home. Drew was enjoying his wonderful dinner with his date and watching the team from Orbix come back as if they'd just seen the second coming of Jesus.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Orbix, Laminar Research, a lot of different companies, and we were like, "No, what happened?" And then there was a guy that came by and just told us, and we were like, "Oh no!" And all broke loose, and they did it again. They did, and no one
If
knew.
anybody can pull it off, it's Microsoft and Sobo.
And
They are now 2 for 2 with that.
Exactly. Not even the developers knew from what we have been seeing. Not even the developers had a warning that this was coming. So yeah,
Which I'm not so sure about that. Okay, yeah, I know that's the prevailing story, and it's easy enough to believe that a lot of developers were blindsided by this. But when we examine that footage,
no.
I
Some
noticed there's
developers knew.
some
Developers
aircraft
knew.
in there that
Yes.
seem a
It
little
was
familiar.
Yeah.
There are absolutely, I'm sure, but again, it's the whole thing of NDAs. But I will say that the vast majority of the developer community, which I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be part of as a developer myself, as a content developer myself, the vast majority were blindsided. And let me also say that they were not afraid of grabbing the pitchforks and torches.
That don't surprise me.
But before we get into that, I do want to get what were your gentlemen's first impressions of that trailer, because there was a lot in that trailer. So starting with the dawn of the helicopter mafia, what was your highlight?
Pretty much everything. I was mind blown. I was really mind blown.
All helicopters.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Half the video was about helicopters, but it's not just about the fact that it's helicopters. It's about the fact that they are adding a lot of new, very cool features into the sim. Stuff that that the community has been asking. Not all the community, but a lot of people have been asking for those features, and for firefighting, for agricultural work, vertical reference, hoisting, all that stuff. It's all stuff that we have been asking Microsoft for some time, and I've been directly involved with it. I cannot go into a lot of details, but I've been in touch with the Microsoft, and I've been helping them with picking up some of these features. Getting them some feedback, some information about the kinds of missions that could be interesting to get in the sim. But as usual, we collaborate with Microsoft. They do their stuff and they don't tell us what they are doing. So I was not expecting this to happen right now. I was expecting, and York promised that this would happen in the future, but I did not expect it to happen right now. And I was mind blown. And I hope I didn't misunderstood what's coming, because one of the things that we have noticed, or that I have noticed in the community, was that I think people are very well, not everyone, but a lot of people are very literal in what they see, what they hear, or what they read. And when someone says it's A, they just focus on A and everything and nothing else. We will talk about the 10-year thing further down the road, I'm sure. So I'll talk about that when we get there. But people saw the trailer. They saw that the trailer was talking about missions, and all of a sudden I saw a lot of people, and I actually was replying to some comments on one of the Facebook posts on one of the Facebook groups about it, because I did see some people saying that Microsoft was ruining everything because this new this new sim was all about doing missions and probably on a very limited area of the world instead of having the whole world as we have right now and building on top. The way I see it, so my perspective on this matter is that we are getting, and again, this is my perspective. I hope I'm not wrong. This is what I'm hoping we'll get. We were getting everything the current version of Microsoft Flight Simulator has, plus all the stuff that they have included in the trailer, all the features, all the new mission systems, the career mode, everything. So I'm in my perspective, they are adding up to the sim. They are not reducing the sim to just that. I was happy, as you can imagine. And when Drew sent me the message on Facebook, I was like, yeah, he sent me something like MSFS 2024, and
Question mark, question mark, question mark.
yeah, and you guys know how we usually send this.
I was expecting that to be one of these BS
Yes.
YouTubers who was
Exactly.
claiming Flight Simulator 2024.
But you should know better. When have I ever sent you any BS YouTuber video? I am a BS YouTuber video. I'd have just sent you one of mine.
But you have
to be fair, all three of us are BS YouTubers.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Yeah. And not only that, but we do send this stuff to each other now and then. Just look at what these guys are doing. They are fooling the community, because one of the things that we all try, the three of us try to, is to inform people. And sometimes we get backlash. I've been having backlash from the community today. If you see the post that I've been doing on several
I told
groups.
you this morning when you posted that, I was like, you're really going to do this, huh?
Don't
you
care.
Opened a can of worms.
Look, I really don't care. If I help one person, you know why I do this, guys. It's to help people. And that's the thing. So I was just like you, Tristan. I was like, oh man, Drew found something that, that's going to be terrible. And for 2 or 3 seconds, I didn't even click the link immediately as you sent it. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it in a second. I was finishing up something, then I clicked on it, and I was like, holy crap, this is real, right?
Yep.
And
yeah,
jaw dropped, and I thought, okay, they did it again. 4 years later, they did exact same shit, this exact same thing. We didn't. No one knew except for the people that were involved. No one knew this happened. I'm excited, guys. What can I say? And I know a lot of people will start, saying that I'm being paid to say this. Like this
They've
one
already
guy on
started
Twitter.
saying you were.
Yeah, this one.
This is what a paid affiliate looks like. Really?
Here's
my paycheck.
That's what I said.
Look,
as soon as he tweeted that, I came back. I was like, Sérgio, where's my money, man? Where's my finder's fee for getting you the scoop? I want half, Eddie.
Exactly. Here's the thing. If we see something, especially if it's from some big corporation like Microsoft, and if we see something and we bash it, we are the biggest content creators in the world. If we have a more neutral stance and try to see things from our perspective and just be honest about it, we are being paid. it's that simple, right? That's what happened. Oh, and the guy just blocked me. So the guy said that, and just blocked me, and not before saying that he would like to hear my honest opinion. Well, he already has my honest opinion, but you said he wanted to hear my honest opinion and blocked me.
And so then he blocked you?
Yes, on Twitter. Yeah. That was really, oh man.
Okay, then.
You guys wouldn't. Yeah, you guys wouldn't believe the stuff that
Oh no!
Sometimes it's just
we believe it.
But believe me, for the audience at home, Anyway,
yeah, it's just crazy. All right. It's weird because we're not like that. It's just we like to help people. That's the thing, and we are not making any money out of this. We're making literally cents from an article that I spent 2 or 3 hours writing an article, and I make sense out of that article from Google AdSense. So.
Trust me, folks. If you think you're going to make a lot of money out of being a YouTuber,
you're not.
You're not. You're not.
No.
So okay. So, Monsieur BelGeode, what was your opinion? Your thoughts?
When I first saw it, of course, the only reason why I tuned into that live stream in the first place because really I don't particularly care about Xbox, but I do care about the fact that Xbox bought Bethesda. So I'm there for Starfield. I'm looking for Starfield, and all of a sudden I see this thing come up. And at first I see the helicopter. I'm like, why does that look familiar? And then I start seeing more and more bits and pieces. I'm like, wait, that's MSFS. And then, of course, I start seeing seasons and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Why are they hyping this up? This sim is already out. And then, of course, the number drops. Which, by the way, community, feel free to pat yourselves on the back for that, because up until now, this flight sim was known as Microsoft Flight Simulator. It was never, ever known as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. We call it that. We put the bug in their ear. This is why this one is now called 2024. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So congratulations, community. You successfully named the sequel. So actually, yeah well done to that.
But
the community, the Vox Populi has spoken.
Yeah, exactly what Sérgio said, though. It blew my mind. When I saw the seasons in particular, seasons has been like one of those big ticket items that people have been asking for. There have been mods that have come out over the last couple of years to kind of bring seasons into the fold, but there's never been, that full on thing that is being advertised right now, or being teased, I should say. I shouldn't really say it's being advertised. So you have stuff like that being included. The fact that there were, from what I could see, third-party aircraft that haven't even been released yet that are being incorporated tells me that they're still keeping that ecosystem in place to where, third parties can be full members, if you will, of the whole flight sim community that's being built around this game. And then, of course, all the fun things to do with helicopters. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I can do that. I don't really care much about like the whole career mode aspect of it. I've never really gotten into that. Well, I shouldn't say never, because there was the one virtual airline incident that lasted 2 years. But aside from that, just in my own personal flying online, or, just doing DCS and stuff like that, I've never actually really cared about quote unquote career modes. But I like the potential that it opens up for a lot of people. Now you can actually have, more groups come together with focus, with purpose. And I'm assuming this is going to be more than just simply, like the little things that you do. What are they called? Tristan, you do them often, where you have like the scores at the end of it, or the bush flights and stuff like that.
The landing challenges and the bush flights, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm assuming the reason why they're bringing all of this into it is they probably want to make it a bigger part of the flight sim, instead of just like an ancillary activity that you can do. It can now be like a major portion of it. Of course, none of us know right now what the full story of Flight Sim 2024 is going to be, but that's the impression that I got from the trailer. And I got to say, that's a good direction to go in.
I just hope we're not limited to career mode. I just hope that those missions can be flown outside of career mode, and that we can actually create our own in a easy way. Because otherwise, I have to be honest with you, I was really excited to see all that, but I have no interest personally in a career mode. I want to be able to do those kinds of missions, but just do whatever I want whenever I want. I don't want to start a career doing this and that and that and that and that and that. It's just not me.
You don't want to run a business. You want to jump in and fly, and in some ways, actually, and in some ways, I think about Parallel 42 Sky Park in that regard. That's one of the reasons why I love that program so much more than Air Hauler or whatever that other one was, On Air, I think, or whatever. But it was because it meant that I could just fly, but I also had a purpose. And for me, and sort of to my first impressions were, well, actually, I'll be honest. The first thing that I thought was the dawn of the helicopter mafia has struck again. That was literally the first thought that went through my head. The second thing that went through it for me was that this is what this sim has been missing. And
Yeah.
where I come to from that is that don't get me wrong, I absolutely love MSFS. I think that what it's done, and I've preached this ad nauseum for all the last however many years, is that it's democratized the flight sim genre. It's made it more accessible. But the biggest thing that it didn't have at the start was that there was still a barrier of entry, a barrier to entry for people who wanted to come into flight sim, and they got in, and after they found their home, their house in flight sim, then there was a case of for many people that I've spoken to in the community and spoken to on my Twitch streams and all the rest of it, is that there was this sense of, what do I do now? And I look at, and I always thought about this in terms of like open world games like Borderlands or WoW and stuff like that. Is that there's always in those games is that there's always another thing that you can go and do. Yes, you can just run around and you can make the world. There was a Star Wars one as well. One of those open world
Yeah.
games.
Star Wars Galaxies. Yep.
Galaxies, yeah. So you could run around and make your own story and do what you want, but there was this overwhelming sense, and I think it's important to acknowledge this, is that people need to have. People don't want to be on rails, but at the same time, they need to have something to do, a reason to go and do something, a reason to challenge themselves, a reason to do something different. Which again, circling back to what I was saying before about Sky Park, was why I feel that the introduction of the Sky Park from the team over at Parallel 42 that is one of the greatest add-ons for Flight Simulator, because it gives you purpose to doing something. It gives you a reason to challenge yourself and fly somewhere that you've never flown before. And like Sergio, what you were saying, you just want to jump in and fly. But you go, I don't know, where do I fly to today? And a lot of people would get stuck. And I remember being the exact same with this when I first started simming many, many moons ago, is I'd get stuck in this pattern of flying through the same like 10 airports or the same part of the world. And it became very, very boring, because it's like, well, what do I do now?
We do see it happen a lot, especially online, especially in the Facebook groups. I can't tell you how many posts that people post on a daily basis where they're literally asking the community, where am I supposed to fly today? What should I do today? So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe for people like us that have been around the block a little bit more, it might be easier for us to, I guess, keep ourselves entertained. A good way to put it. But for the average person that's utilizing flight sim, yeah, you're absolutely right, Tristan. They need purpose, a reason to be doing what we're doing, other than just simply hopping in a plane.
And that way, and my way of looking at it is that, and again, going to the point that both of you have made, is that I don't want this, hinted at career mode to lock you into a certain thing, but I want it to be there as a platform to say, here's a sample of what you can do. Here's something to give you ideas that you can then take forth and go on yourself. So for me, that was the super exciting thing about that, because I'm looking at that. How you've seen me fly helicopters, or crash helicopters. But
you fly well. You fly them well.
Yeah, you're not giving yourself enough credit on that. I've seen some pretty epic flying out of you.
Here's the thing. Tristan does not want to admit it was fully corrupted, and he is now a rotor head. That's the thing. That's why I say it sucks. It doesn't suck. I've seen a guy fly, and he flies it really nicely.
But I saw that, and first thing I went was, okay, cool, the helicopters are there, crap, helicopters are there, means I really got to actually try and fly the damn things now. But then the third thing I thought of was, wow, I really want to try and do this. Like, I really want to try and sling load that, with the sky crane, that top of that communications tower onto its base. And I know it was was it in X-Plane where there was, I think it was X-Plane, where there was there was a helicopter rescue scenery in the Swiss Alps or something.
Yeah. X-Plane 10 and 11, I think, have it. I'm not sure if it's available for 12 yet.
and I'm looking at that and going, I think that would be really cool, to give that stuff a go. So for me, it was super exciting seeing the trailer because it was like, okay, that's cool. And then sort of to round it out, then there was sort of like the hold up, that's 2024. That's not just a DLC. And that's where my other side of me went, okay, what does this mean? And that's where I was sort of go to now is that one of the things that we noticed, and Sergio, you absolutely nailed it, and so Drew, Sergio, you and Drew both absolutely nailed it. That quite 2 for 2, they've dropped this announcement with nothing behind it. And it was so hilarious because they scrambled to get an FAQ out. It was 13 hours later. They put an FAQ out because everybody's screaming. As I said, the pitchforks were out. The torches were lit. They were coming to burn the studios down.
If you think about it, from the very beginning, when they flew us all out there, what did we tell them? Don't underestimate the flight sim community. And what do they keep doing? They keep underestimating the flight sim community, both good and bad.
I really think Microsoft should start because there are a lot of people out there.
They need to hire a flight simmer to put in their marketing department,
or at least get some people to advise them. And I've tried.
Get a focus group or stuff like that. Hell, people like us, we know what the community is looking at.
Here's the thing. Microsoft works with top-notch marketing companies, and they do a good job. But the thing is, they do a good job for a certain market, which is general gaming market, the Xbox market, right? And and clearly that trailer that we saw on the Xbox event was for that kind of market, and it works. People want to be excited about stuff that they can do. But then there's the flight simulation community, and it's not. I have said this today. I'm repeating myself, but I didn't say this on video. But I said this today on some comments on some of the groups. We're not better, although some people think we are, but we are not better than the general gaming community, and we are not worse than the general gaming community. We are different.
I can hear the comments coming in now.
They've been coming in all day.
Yeah, tough. But that's the reality. We are not the same as the general gaming community, and we are not the same because we are more loyal to a program, to a software, to a product. We invest a lot more in it. We invest a lot more time, a lot more money, and we have been here throughout every single version and even other version from other developers. So we are always in this genre and wanting more and craving for more. So when something new or different or disruptive is announced, we have questions. We have exactly, and we have questions that the general gaming community does not have.
Yep.
The general gaming community is not going to ask, will my add-ons work on this new sim? The general gaming community will not ask, is this going to continue to have the whole world? The general gaming community does not ask, are you going to stop supporting the previous version?
Yep.
These and more are questions general gaming community will not ask, because for them it's just another game. They are going just to buy it, try it, play it, and share their time with other things. A lot of simmers don't do anything else, don't play anything else. And I know people are going to crucify me for saying playing in games, but I don't care, because it's the same industry. It's the same industry. But a lot of people are committed to flight sims and nothing else. So and there's a perspective that Microsoft needs to have. And you are right, Tristan. They need to hire an actual. I'm not bashing the team they have. The team they have is wonderful. Everyone is great in there.
Yep.
But they are either not listening to the simmers they have in the team, or
they don't have any.
or they don't have.
They don't. And to be honest,
Mhm.
I don't think they have it there. And again, because I really want to pick up on something that you talked about, Sergio, but I do want to sort of add to that
Yeah, sure.
of saying there is and again, between that trailer announcement and then 13 hours later, the short but very pointed and very clear FAQ that came out, there is a massive disconnect between the development team and the marketing team, and that is what's going to hurt them. That hurts them more than anything
Absolutely.
Yeah.
else.
And that's nothing new because that's something that we've been saying from the get-go. I mean, right
It
now,
happened in 2019.
one of the biggest questions that I've been facing all day has been from the VR community wanting reassurance that VR is going to continue to be a part of Microsoft Flight Simulator and it's not going to like set us backwards several notches. Now, my assumption would be, of course, they will, because seriously, if I have to pick up that fight again to get 2024 to have VR, I can't do that. I'm going to need some younger heads. I'll have to bring like Steve, the VR flight sim guy, and Jose, the VR pilot, in on this because no.
Yeah,
But I'm going to run on the assumption that they're going to go forward from here and not backward. But that's basic
Still an
information
assumption.
that they needed to have out
at the time of launch or within 2 hours.
Right.
Again, as I said, the
13
FAQ
hours?
and we'll read those. Yeah, 13 hours.
Look, they have posted about the trailer on the official website. You know, when they did that, they should have posted more information as well. The information that they knew or they should know that Simmers were going to ask.
Which from the
Right?
FAQ, they clearly knew, and it was like, why not
They-
include this in the same thing?
I am not going to say they knew because that's FAQ, like you said, Tristan, was here 13 hours later. And I knew that FAQ was out through Microsoft because I was asking those questions and I was then directed to the FAQ. So I don't think they had the notion of what people were going to ask because those questions came. I think those questions came after they saw the questions being asked by the community because the questions were exactly on point with everything that people were asking at the time, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the top three
It
questions
was
that people have had.
top two or
There's
three.
been a
It was
lot more questions than that, and they only addressed the three that they felt were the most major.
But here's the thing, and we're talking about something that when Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm talking against us right now, because here's the deal, and we know this is going to happen. When Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 comes out, no one will remember this conversation. No one will remember that this happened. People will, make their decision and move on. But this causes a lot of grief inside the community. And
it
people
causes distrust. It causes distrust, and which I'm really upset about because I think that the team at Asobo especially has worked so hard to build a sense of trust and confidence. The fact that they're still doing regular dev live streams 3 years into release, 2.5, 3 years into release, that's unheard of. And the fact that, so that they've worked so hard to build up this level of trust and confidence with the community. And again, this is where I sort of go, this is where, again, I go back to before. There's a disconnect between dev team and marketing team. Is the marketing team just pissed that all away? Well, maybe not all of it, but they've definitely done some damage to it.
But hey, Dune DLC coming for 2020.
Yeah, but sorry. So I do want to cut you off there because I really want to leverage off one of the points that you said before, where you were saying that we are not like other gamers, and the questions we ask are, again, which was addressed in the top FAQ question, which was, we ask questions like, will my DLC work? Will I have will the content that I've already purchased still work? Do I have to rebuy it again? Are you still going to keep supporting it? Those questions are unique to the flights, well, maybe not unique, but pretty damn close to this. Well, they're unique to the simulator community, but very important to the flight sim community. Now, for me, that was a really big thing, because it's a case of it, and it's absolutely a very valid question of going, will all the content that, and you said it yourself, Sergio, we spend a lot of money as a whole of community. We spend an awful lot of money on add-ons, and we want a reassurance that it's going to continue working with this sim. And if you drop a replacement sim on it, am I going to have to rebuy it again? That's a perfectly valid question, perfectly valid concern that wasn't addressed immediately. So having that kind of thing around, but what you highlighted, Sergio, is that we're different because we asked that question. Now, going back to again what you were saying before, is that while we're still gamers, that announcement was geared towards the rest of the game community. And again, I'm going to make generalizations here, but the rest of the gaming community has been conditioned to not worry about that. The rest of the gaming community is used to getting a Modern Warfare, Call of Duty release, insert whatever AAA title, every 12 to 24 months. They get a new release where they spend another $90 to buy it again. And all the however much money they've spent on DLC for the last version will not port over. The overall gaming community is conditioned to, you bought it, that's good, but once we push out the new one, you're not going to be able to keep using it. Whereas the flight sim community, we are used to, and I hate to say this for the people at home, we're actually used to having a new sim dropped on us every few years. But we're also used to having our content be able to be either partially or be the part. Well, there usually most of our content can be migrated over to the new platform. Not all, I want to stress that, not all, but most of it can be. Sometimes we've got to rebuy, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's a case of we've got to do some shit ourselves. But that's where we are different from the rest of the gaming community. And again, tying this all together, this really showed to me that whoever was running the marketing for this absolutely does not have any understanding of who we are as a community, and they absolutely need to have a voice in there, because the question that we were going to ask is, will our stuff keep working? Will we have to rebuy it again? Now, and as I said before, like I've got the actual FAQ in front of me here right now, because the two questions that were the first, the two main questions that were unanswered was, one, is this a standalone sim, and two, are we going to have to rebuy all our content? And those were the two questions that they answered, which was, is it a new sim? Yes, it is a brand new sim. Will our content that we've purchased in MSFS work in 2024? They say, and to quote exactly, with very few exceptions, virtually all add-ons that work in Microsoft Flight Simulator today will function in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Add-ons that were purchased from the in-simulator marketplace will not need to be repurchased in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024.
Which, of course, begs the question, what about every other third-party website? Do we simply assume that since the files, there's some similarity, or perhaps the same files? Would that also apply?
Well, as a software developer, what that says to me is that they're running the same code base. So that actually answers the next question that I think Sergio also had, was that, is this going, and you as well had, Drew, which is that, is this going to be a completely different sim, or is this simply a build up on what's we've already got? And it's a build up, because if my add-on works perfectly fine in current sim and will also work in the next one with what's seemingly with virtually no, with minimal to no modifications, that tells me the same code base. And also, as a developer, I would not want to be running two global spanning sims with completely separate code bases.
Right.
No. That's just a hard no.
There's also another tip that they gave us. I'll get there in a second. But the question that you made right now, Drew, I saw that question being made today as well. And the thing is, if Microsoft is saying that the add-ons, or pretty much all add-ons, will work out of the box, that means that the structure of the files is the same, which should mean that if you have an add-on bought on any other website, it should work on the new sim. You don't need to rebuy it because it should work. It's the same. It should be the same file structure. Okay, so
So our deductive reasoning is what's bringing us that answer. However,
yes,
Microsoft and Asobo have not officially given us that answer, which for
No,
you,
but
me, everybody else that's, like regular
Yes.
viewers of this show, yeah, that's probably
There's-
going to be acceptable. But for Joe Schmo on Facebook who don't know, Microsoft Flight Simulator from Adam, we kind of need for Asobo and Microsoft to actually address those
That-
other
yeah, that's why
things.
that's why it should have been addressed from the start, from the get-go. That's the thing, because a lot of people are going to miss the information that comes afterwards, and we've seen that throughout the day. That FAQ was released, and people are still asking the same questions
The
and being
exact
directed
same,
to
the
that
exact
FAQ.
questions that were answered,
So
13 hours after the thing.
that's
Yeah.
that's why when there's an announcement in regards with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it needs to be addressed properly,
Yep.
through official channels all at once. There's a second piece of the puzzle that tells us that this is the same code base, which is the fact, and that is also in the FAQ, Tristan. It's the fact that Microsoft is saying that they will continue to support and update Microsoft Flight Simulator. I do not believe they would do this with two different code bases, two things that were completely different from each other. It would be just insane and impossible for them to maintain. So I do believe that this is my perspective based on the information we have. So I'm speculating. I do believe Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is the same version that we have, with additions, with new features, with new stuff, with seasons, new functionalities for
Tornadoes.
tornadoes, and that was interesting as well. Like we were just, I'm going to say this for our viewers. I was just telling you guys earlier today. I saw an interview with someone from Microsoft saying that tornado was not something that was handpicked inside the sim. The tornado formed based on weather conditions. So in
So it's
theory,
not an effect file like it used to be in FSX?
exactly,
Wow.
it was formed based on weather conditions and weather information. So in theory, we will be able to have tornadoes whenever there are chances of tornadoes forming, which is absolutely
Mind
incredible.
blowing. That's
Mhm.
mind blowing, is what that
Yep.
is.
And yeah, and did you see the trees? Did you see the water wash making the trees move?
Which
Man.
again is
Can I-
something
can I-
that people have been
can I-
asking for.
Can I point out that the last time we had that was Microsoft Flight, that stillborn child of the flight simulator genre? Sorry, okay, I'm going to get off my high horse. No, okay, anyway.
So,
Anyway,
with
moving on.
all of that having been said, and knowing what needs to be done, we've already addressed the greater gaming community. They see it, and they've already made their minds up from the moment the Xbox presentation ended, whether or not they're going to want to buy into something like this. But the simmers, the ones that have been investing all this money into PCs, or even if they're on console, or the various controls like the Virtual, the VR headsets, all of that kind of stuff, we still have the questions that need to be answered. Now, if I'm Asobo, if I'm Microsoft, you've got this golden opportunity coming up in, hold on, I'm checking the calendar. Today is what, the
Next
13th?
week?
Yeah, 10 days. Roughly, well, give or take a couple of days or so.
By the time I edit this and get this out.
So you got to be thinking that basically we're all waiting right now to see, since we know for a fact that Asobo and Microsoft are going to be at Flight Sim Expo in Houston coming up next week.
And on Friday, they have a slot. They have an hour slot to do product announcements.
Exactly.
That is the ideal time, I would think, for them to, allay the fears of the community. And I guess it'll probably fall to us who, frequent the internet to kind of hold everybody in place and douse the torches before all of that happens. But if I'm Microsoft and Asobo, right there, that's your primary audience. That's the whole reason why we've been begging you for the last few years to go to this particular convention. This is your time to shine. This is your time to, basically allay the fears of the entire flight sim community, the hardcore folks, the casuals that are, curious and getting interested, but are kind of on the fence right now because honestly, they're like, well, do I want to get 2020 or do I want to get 2024? Do I hold off for another year or can I get in right now? Right now is the time for Microsoft and Asobo to utilize that platform at Flight Sim Expo. And I'm hoping that by the end of that weekend, by the time, all the dust is settled, number one, we won't have any more boom flowers like they dropped on us in 2019. But number two, I'm hoping that the entire community will at least be confident and satisfied in what the game plan is.
Yeah. And we need that. Let me address this because I think this is what I'm going to say next is very important. Yeah, I'm on my high horse now, but it's really important, and you guys will understand why. We need to know this information not just because of our own curiosity or just because of our own selfishness, but also because the probability of people stop buying add-ons because they are afraid they will not work on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is real. And this is going
minutes
to hurt.
after that announcement. Yeah,
Yes.
minutes after that announcement, the posts were flooding in on all the developers' pages, all the developers' Discord saying, I'm not buying anything until I know if it's going to work.
This is going to hurt developers. This is going to hurt the industry. I know people don't want to talk about money. I know people just take it personally when we'll talk about companies making money. But if these companies don't make money, they will close. They will stop making their products. They will stop updating their products. The industry will take a huge blow. So we need these answers so that the community understands, okay, I can buy this add-on from company XYZ because this will most certainly work on the new version. And these companies need to have access to some kind of build as early as they can so that they can make sure that even when they are developing right now for 2020, it will work in 2024. I've been talking to helicopter developers, and when a few minutes after Drew sent me the message about 2024, I saw the video, I wrote the news, and I started hitting those developers and telling them because they weren't aware, they were doing their work, they were doing
We
helicopters.
all got blindsided. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, what do
And
you mean the helicopter I was working on is now going to be in the sim for free?
Well, more than that, they were worried about, is one of the guys just directly asked me, so everything I'm working now is going to be on the trash bin? Do I just stop working on this altogether and just wait and see what's going to happen? And then I told him, no, look, this is my perspective. Don't just give up. Continue working. Let's get some more information, but don't feel, don't feel demotivated and don't let yourself go down because of this, because this can actually be the opposite. I think this can be an opportunity for people like you. If you are doing a helicopter and all of a sudden you see a video where helicopters are doing different things, this means that more people will look into this kind of aircraft and will start wondering, oh, okay, cool, I can do search and rescue, I can do this and that. Like you were saying, Kristen, I can build a tower with my sky crane.
And it raises that, it gives people that sort of like that desire to go to look for something different, to go for something different. And
Exactly.
as a developer, it means that, hey, the stuff I've been asking for as hooks in the sim, as, hey, I want to be able to do these things, I want to have them. I don't want to have to code up my own external code base to be able to do, medevac flights. Suddenly those hooks and those tools are going to be accessible from in the sim. For me as a developer, I'm inspired because I'm looking at that and going, cool, I can potentially do so much more. The things that I've been wanting to do, the stuff that I used to do back in, the FSX and prepared days, I want to be able to do those things in MSFS, and obviously now its successors. But the limitations of the current code base have been stopping me from doing it. But now I'm seeing very clear indications that there are ways for me to be able to set animations up, to be able to set triggers, to be able to have objects happen in ways that are obviously much more useful than the shit show that is the SDK at the moment. So that for me is actually really inspiring. So I agree with you. Is that it can seem daunting and it can seem very depressing at first glance, but then you look at I hope that other developers, and also I hope the community, get inspired by this, because at the end of the day, as much as we've heard ad nauseum people complaining, "Oh, the update broke my sim, Cerber wrecked everything." Every
They've been
single
ripping
time
us
they
off for
have
months.
for months, but yeah, every time they broke something, they actually fixed a whole bunch of stuff, and it was up to third-party devs, rightly or wrongly, to scramble to fix the stuff that they've been making for for years and whatever. So, and again, it goes back into what we've been talking about, the whole communication piece. So, I definitely see that this is a big step forward. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I sympathise and I completely understand why a lot of people are concerned. But there is so much room for hope and positivity here that we can't let ourselves get buried under the negative hype. And again, and for the love of all things holy, I don't want to go through what we've gone through, under multiple sims in the past, where the negative opinions of a small vocal few end up killing the future for everybody. Um, so, but at the end of the day, that's not just on us, and that is 100%, not 100%, but it is also very heavily reliant on Microsoft and Asobo playing
Yep.
ball and actually
Gotta
freaking
communicate.
talking to us.
Gotta communicate better. And I
So,
just think it's kind of
yeah.
ironic, too, that, talking about all the various things that we see in this trailer that are coming to 2024, I just thought it was kind of ironic. On Friday, I watched a video from VR Flight Sim guy, good buddy Steve, who co-runs the VR group with me and with Jose. And he did a video on High Performance Group's firefighting module that, is either coming or has already dropped. And the very first thing that we see in this trailer is the whole aerial firefighting thing. So I'm thinking, what does Hype think seeing this? Are they like, the wind coming out of their sails, or are they excited because now they can actually, broaden their scope? There's a lot of potential there, but it's really going to depend on, how Asobo and Microsoft broach that to the community, in particular the developers, giving them access, giving them clear indications in like the SDK how to, improve their products. I don't see it as something that should be a competitive thing necessarily. I think with all of these things that they say are coming with 2024, third-party developers can just do their thing. They can make it shine because that is exactly what they do in general.
It's what we've done for pretty much the entire history of Flight Simulator. It doesn't matter whether
Ad
it's Microsoft
nauseum.
Flight
Yep.
Simulator, X-Plane, Prepared, Aerofly. It was the third-party community that made it shine, and that extends to freeware and payware developers. And we are, and again, all three of us spoke ad nauseum at the introduction event, the preview event, where we impressed upon the team at the time, saying you have to make friends with third-party community because you are going to live or die by them. We are not Call of Duty. We are not Fortnite. We are not just, we are not Mortal Kombat. We are a community that is a beast unto itself that will lap up and give you praise, but will also bite your hand off as fast as it can if you do us wrong. And sometimes I feel they've taken that lesson to heart, and sometimes I feel they really didn't.
I think it has to do with I want to say moments, but I think it ends up depending on who's doing what. Because here's the thing, and we have to be very we all also have to be honest and fair to the team. Because here's the thing, I know for a fact, and I know that you guys know for a fact as well. I know that York listens. I know that Azobo listens. Okay, so we provide feedback. We might not have instant feedback from them, but they listen. And I have proof that they listen, right? I have the 2 helicopters that were in Microsoft Flight Simulator that were my suggestion to York. And a lot of the stuff that we are seeing now in terms of features were also suggestions that I sent to York that I thought should be included. And I know other people have suggested things to York and the development team, so they listen. The opposite is also true. They also communicate. Tristan, you just said it. In 20 plus months, they have released 20 updates and they have been on camera multiple times talking about development. And so they do understand that they have to do that. There's the community management team and York and Sebastian and Martial, everyone's there talking about the development and about the product. The whole problem lies when these sorts of announcements have to be made. And I think it's not in their hands. I think that goes
I agree.
outside their scope, goes to some other department, marketing company, I don't know, and they lose control. And they lose control.
Exactly
so we have to be, just to be clear, so that people that are watching us at home don't start thinking it has to do with that specific team. That doesn't have to do with York and his team or Azobo and his team. I think it has to do with marketing team, and that is the team that needs to understand that they need to do things a little different. It wouldn't hurt them to do 2 announcements at once. Do the announcement for the Xbox community, for the Xbox stream,
Do the one for
and
us.
at the same time, exactly, and at the same time, release the information. Could be the same, could be the same trailer. Just add some text underneath it, because I'm sure they could have found those questions before the questions were made by the community.
Yeah,
I mean, technically, they did do 2 announcements. They did the trailer that we all saw for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and they did the Dune DLC. They did the Dune DLC. That was the second trailer.
Yep.
They just didn't do what we are talking about right now. But again, marketing.
Exactly.
And it goes to what I was saying before Sergio. It goes that there's a I feel there's a disconnect. And again, I 100% agree, because Jorg, myself, like all the team that Sebastian, the team has done amazing work, and anybody who says they haven't needs to GTFO out of our community. Because they've done amazing work. They have listened. They have answered messages. I have watched them interact with the community. The fact that the CEO of Asobo is interacting with the community tells me how seriously they actually take our community. So I absolutely do not want to detract from what they're doing, because I think they're doing a great job. But what again, to your point, and to the point that I made earlier, is that there appears to be a very clear disconnect, or a very what could be seen as a very clear disconnect between the people on the ground doing the work, getting everything ready, and actually working with the community day in, day out in the trenches, and the marketing team that is, and again, nothing against the marketing team, but they're used to looking at the whole of the gaming ecosystem, or more exactly, they're used to dealing with the mainstream gaming community, who don't ask questions like this, who don't have concerns like this, who, as I said before, have been house trained, for want of a better term, to expect a new release of AAA title every 12 to 24 months with no.
You just gotta wow them. You just gotta wow them.
Exactly. You just got to wow them. whereas we are a different beast, and I feel that disconnect somehow needs to be bridged between the two. But I do want to actually sort of leverage off another point that you made before, Sergio. And with that particular beautiful segue, it turns out that this video went on for a lot longer than we were expecting to, because apparently there's a lot to talk about. Who would have thought?
Funny how that works.
So that concludes part one of reasons why the sky is not falling. So stay tuned for episode 2 coming up very shortly.
And we will talk about 10 years.